Hello and welcome to EUphoria. This is the final episode of our MSI coverage. Today I am joined by the wonderful Caedrel and Ender. I am, of course, Drakos. We're available as always on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud. And today we're going to have a quick interview with Mac about the Mad Lions and everything that they've accomplished. We're going to talk about our favorite moments from MSI, looking forward to Worlds 2021, maybe hitting on some juicy off-season roster rumors and some very sad confirmed things that are happening in the off-season. Ooh, drama. But first, we can talk about the finals, our impressions thereof. But even before that, gentlemen, it's Monday morning. Most of us rolled out of bed to get here. It's at home EUphoria production. How you living? How's life? I want to go to Ender first. Ender, it's been a month since we've had you on.
Yeah,
You've grown. You're a man now, Ender, since we've last seen you. What's going on in your world?
well, I don't know. I'm just initially offended that you called Caedrel wonderful, and I'm just Ender. You know, nothing else attached to it.
I said incredible Ender or incredible Caedrel and Ender. Like I said, you were both included under that acronym.
Oh, okay.
Dude.
I'll take it. I feel like you're kind of weaseling your way into that one, but I'll accept that for now.
Okay, all right. We'll get you more accolades later. Okay, we'll shower you with accolades. Caedrel,
Yeah.
you alive? You good?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. No, I'm really good.
We're all awake. Clearly,
This morning was it was a weird one because I set an alarm, but then it didn't go off. Why? My phone was completely bugged, but I'm fine. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. For context, this is one of those mornings where we all kind of woke up on the wrong side of the bed. But despite that, we are very enthusiastic. We're ready to talk about some banging League of Legends. And yesterday was, in fact, an incredible day of League of Legends. God bless. Best of 5 final, actually going to 5 games. Now, ultimately, the 5th game, a bit anticlimactic, which was kind of the sad thing about the day, was that we had 4 really crazy games, and then the 5th game was like, all right, RNG. Also, spoilers. If you're watching this podcast and you don't expect spoilers, you're kind of a clown. But, there you go. That's what you get. RNG just kind of smacked him around in the last game. So, let's talk a little bit about the final. What were your guys' impressions? Why ultimately do you think that RNG just came out on top over Den 1?
It was a crazy back and forth series. I think RNG, they interesting enough, Wei and Gala played Udyr and Kai'Sa all 5 games, which was kind of crazy to me. I think that some of Damon's drafts were a little bit too weird to me, especially the 5th game draft, and you're playing like Jace Varus into hard engaged Nocturne, Leona, Gragas and stuff like this with the Kai'Sa. It really didn't make much sense to me because they only really had a winning early game, and at best that only goes on until like Nocturne is like level 6. So it just sucks from then onwards because they first rotate the Varus Tom, which is good, but I think they should have picked like a tank maybe, and something like a Sion or an Ornn, and then just some kind of control mage that can build towards Zhonya's. And I think their team fights must be better, but yeah, full single target damage AD champs against hard engage with poke is not that great, I think.
Yeah, I'd also say like one of the big talking points coming in was people thought there was gonna be like a giant mid gap between ShowMaker and Cryan, and we did see ShowMaker like come out of the lane in a couple of the games with an advantage, but it was not as big as like I thought it was going to be. And like in game 1, right, Cryan was able to get Lucian into a Akali, and you're obviously going to have a pretty good time early on in that matchup. But I thought that like Cryan was able to like hold his own, and then like even in the Nocturne game, influence the rest of the map and really shut down what was supposed to be probably the biggest advantage on the map for Damwon.
I mean, yeah, I think going in, like what we saw, and this is obviously a bit hyperbolic, but it really felt to me like Canyon and ShowMaker were like the 2 really reliable points for Dan 1. I felt like everyone else had their moments over the course of the tournament where they kind of just griefed it, to be completely honest. So when we came in and Canyon wasn't that gigantic mid gap, I was very surprised for Dan 1, but I was pleasantly surprised by Cryan. I think you're completely on the money there, Ender. You're right. Like the Lucian game was solid, the Nocturne game was solid, and while ShowMaker I think had a better performance in a number of games, it was never life changing. You know what I mean? It was never crazy game defining enough that it was like ultimately like the sole reason that they won, which I think as an outsider looking in, I kind of expected there to be 1 or 2 games where, there was just a big enough mid gap that ShowMaker just completely and totally took over the game, which never really felt 100% like what happened.
Yeah. And I think that the first game, which was played, I think it was a really smart draft from Royal Negro where they first picked the Lucian, and you expect that to go to Xiaohu 10 out of 10 times because they had 100% win rate on it throughout the whole year on like 11 or 12 games. But then they gave it to Cryan because as soon as they blind picked the Gragas top, or counter pick Sion with the Gragas top, when Lucian's picked, there's really nothing that ShowMaker can pick. There was like Orianna bans, Nocturne, Victor, Syndra, Lucian was already taken away, Renekton was banned, Lee Sin, Zoe, everything was banned away already. So there was no real counter pick there. So I really liked that they gave Cryan basically the strongest mid on the patch, while also denying ShowMaker any form of counter pick.
And talking about like picks for in general, but for ShowMaker, like ShowMaker's champion pool was wacky. Like not just like today, but the day before, like he played the Yone versus Humanoid. He was always playing like Akali, and then the Xerath comes out, which was like very interesting. Like I don't think we've seen that in ages. I think Medic tweeted out like
Medic
the last
tweeted,
time,
like 2014
the last
or so.
2014 Zhao at Worlds, last time we saw it in international play. And I was watching the game with Freak, and I'm like, I seem to remember this matchup like in the old days when Xerath came into play, and it's like, you counter Orianna by starting W level 1, but then Orianna's learned that you start E level 1, and then that's exactly what they did, and the matchup hasn't really changed in 6 years.
Yeah, there's always these like just from pro play, like the last 3 or 4 years of scrims where it's like Azir meta, Corki meta, Orianna. The counters to these champs are Xerath and Vel'Koz, but no one actually can play them to the point where it feels like a counter. Like the one tricks playing these champs into mages always has like the push or has a winning lane. But people tried to pull it off in scrims over the last few years, and I've never seen anyone succeed yet. I think Caps was pretty decent at them, but barring that, there really wasn't many players who could play it. So all these one tricks were dominating high-low, and every year people would try to get the info from the one tricks to try and play these matchups, but no one ever did it. But I mean, there was like 8 mid bans and picks in total, so ShowMaker just pulled it out, and I think he was pretty good.
Yeah, it was impressive. I mean, when I look at Xerath as a champion, I'm like, that's just a champion that's old, right? You just like look at that kit and you're like, completely immobile mid mage. That's my jam. Give me the brands. give me the Xeraths. Like don't gank me, jungler, please. I just do damage. That's all I have. That's my entire kit, or range in the case of Xerath. So I was
Xerath versus Udyr.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, it's actually such an old, the literal kind of champion that was around when Xerath was out. The only reason he's safe, they have to just run at him.
I wonder if you went and looked at like the comps in every like final game of like MSI Finals or World Finals, I wonder if the winning team had the oldest comp of all time. Because you have Gragas, Udyr, Nocturne, Leona, all super old champions. And then Kai'Sa's like the youngest champion on that roster. But like Udyr's from season -10 or something. I don't know. But he's winning MSI.
It's true. You're actually completely right. Oh man. Oh my god, I'm so ancient. Do you ever just like look back and realize how I'm so old?
Also, dude, imagine looking at that. That's 3 junglers.
I was watching the 2015 MSI Finals, the one which also went to 5 games, with SKT versus EDG. Pawn picked Morgana into LeBlanc. Dude, those were the times, man. You had like LeBlanc Nunu mid jungle.
Yeah.
And
it was versus Evelyn. Klulov's Evelyn
versus
in game
Morgana
5 too.
Evelyn. Yeah. Like, dude, those times were crazy.
History was absolutely wild. Yeah, this is really weird. I'm feeling actually just ancient thinking about this now. Because I was talking last night about like, 10-year high school anniversary. I'm an old man now. And I was like, I've hit my 10-year league anniversary a long time ago. Like Udyr's like 10 years old, right? Like that's actually nutty. Ugh.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, dude. Like, and also in that series, Gnar was played top lane. So that boy's been around. He's been around. 2015 finals, he was there, and he's been in this MSI as well. 6 years down the line, he's still popping off.
Here's my question: if you can, for Summer Split, to make Summer Split interesting, right? Before we talk about Mad Lions, because Mad Lions would be pretty fun. If you make Summer Split interesting, you get to remove 3 champs from the meta completely. What 3 champs do you just remove? They either they're nerfed out of existence, they're deleted, it doesn't matter. In this thought experiment, these 3 champions are just unplayable in pro now. How do you make the meta interesting? What 3 champions do you remove?
Oh, I think I've got it. I've got it.
You go first.
It's all the best supports. Nautilus, Leona, and then what's the third one that we take off? I don't want to take away Thresh. I think we leave Thresh.
I don't know if you can do that though. Because if you take away like Nautilus, Leona, Rel, you still have like Thresh, Alistar, Gragas, Pumpkinch.
But I think if we saw like more Gragas set, I think that's more interesting than Leona, Nautilus. Yeah. I like. There's still a lot of them, but I wonder if priorities would shift if you didn't have like the most OP of the like melee engage options.
I think the easy answer is just remove for next split. Remove Morgana, Udyr, and Rumble. like, now what? It's just a volleyball meta, I guess.
I mean, they're gonna find weird junglers that power for
And
him.
Nidalee.
Yeah.
Like, is
also
Lilia suddenly
jungle's
very good?
changed, 15 plus
Yeah.
second timers. We got all the spice going in.
True. You can change top lane with like Gnar, Jace, Lee Sin. But then there's Renekton.
But the thing is, I'm not super bored. I know like we just saw an entire tournament of Morgana, Rumble, Udyr, but we didn't see Morgana Rumble at all during the regular season. So like I'm not like at the point where I want to delete those champions. Like, yeah, nerf them. Like, I do want to see more options. Like, maybe I'm a little bit bored of Udyr by now after 6 months of it. But I'm not like completely over Rumble yet.
Yeah, Udyr's a must.
Yeah, I would say that for me, Udyr and Gnar are on the list, despite the Gnar that's like, despite the fact that Gnar is definitely not super high prio. Like, he just continues to get picked, and I'm just, for Udyr, obviously we've just seen him for too long, but for me, for Gnar, it's like, I just want champions in the game that don't have a rage bar mechanic for their engage. Like, the amount of times that we're like, oh, the fight's gonna start. Oh, never mind, it's mini Gnar. I guess everyone's gonna go back for the setup and we're gonna do it all one more time. Like, woo, Gnar.
Do you think
like,
Gnar's prio would rise if Sylas could steal ults from his own teammates?
Yes.
Okay.
How cool would that be? If Sylas could
That'd be
steal
so
ults?
sick.
How cool would it be if Sylas could steal ults from his own teammates, right? However, it puts that ult on cooldown.
I mean, it's so worth it for Gnar, right? Like, Gnar's just the OP synergy because Gnar's ult cooldown is like 10 seconds. It's like, just he doesn't have an ult cooldown. The second he goes mini, you just steal his ult.
But I like Gnar. I think Gnar's fun to watch in fights, when they just jump in and do like a Gnar into the wall. That's a really hype moment, I think, though. I think it's better than like watching, I don't know, just a Maokai flash W someone.
Yeah, but I'd like, or even Ornn is more exciting to me than Gnar. Maybe it's just because I've watched so much
Really?
Gnar.
Ornn's more exciting
Ornn
to
is
you than
pretty
Gnar?
sweet. No, I think Ornn is sweet.
He calls the horn. He like announces the fight. He like goes in and knocks people up. He does.
Kaedrel, the way you have to think about it is like you have to think about it like as a play caster, like, is it easier to be like, here comes the horn, scream it out. And also Gnar's ultimate has the worst name ever. Gnar. How do you call that in a fight? I don't know.
Gnar is the wall.
Gnar,
It becomes a verb.
Gnar.
Gnar.
It's a gnarly Gnar from Gnar.
Nice.
Yeah, that's oh my god. All right, we've gotten sufficiently off topic. Let us know if you're watching this episode. You can hit us up on Twitter if you think that there are any 3 particular champions that deleting them from the game changes the meta completely. Removing
Zoe.
Halo Blades from the game. Zoe, maybe.
Yumi.
Well,
Malzahar.
don't
What?
delete my Zoe. Don't do that.
What, you really want to delete Malzahar, Caedrel? You that embarrassed? You just want to pretend like people
He
can't?
just wants Faker to win a Worlds again, Scarred.
I'm just scarred, man. It's been a long couple of years. It's been rough out here.
Oh, yeah, it's a dark times for Caedrel. Falling on hard time. The former Malzahar.
Every time, everywhere I go, I see its face.
It's also your sub notification, so it's your own fault. Anyway, moving on. Now we can talk about the EU side of this whole ordeal. And I think we can talk about Mad Lions versus Damwon Kia. This was another fantastic series. Highly recommend going back and watching it. Up until, honestly, the final 2 games, it felt very, very winnable for Mad. It felt very close. It felt very tight. And what are your guys' kind of initial impressions coming out of this? What's your read on what happened here for Mad? What went wrong for Mad? What went right for Damwon in this best of 5?
Well, I think that similar to the draft on the yesterday's games in Game 5, where I think Damwon misplayed the draft, I think Mad Lions actually misplayed the Game 5 draft, giving them like Jace, Zoe, Rumble. Didn't like that too much because ShowMakers is really good at it, and counter-picking Sylas into Zoe is not a counter really. But I mean, Mad Lions were on match points, right? So things were going right for them. I think it was more so the team fights that were working for them, like Wukong, Orianna, Kai'Sa, and then Damwon drafting like Jace, Varus again for no reason. And then having the Volley Bear, which I think was a massive pick for Mad Lions. I was surprised they didn't go for it in the final game as well, because it felt like an X-Factor champion where Elyoya could just get his team ahead while Canyon was farming. But I think the biggest thing in the series was ShowMaker was playing like Victor and stuff like this. And eventually, Jace, when he goes put on things like Yone and Sylas, he looks like just a completely different player, and Mad Lions just didn't have the gas in the tank to be able to deal with it.
Yeah, it seemed like, it's sort of like when you were casting it, the idea was like, okay, if ShowMaker is on a champion that is not just like a backline, put out some damage casually while your team has to do all the work, like, then they're gonna win. If he's on like the Sylas and can find the engage and whatnot. It was a very strange series, because I really do feel like games 1 through 3 were completely different to 4 and 5. Like even game 1 that Damwon won, every single lane from Mad Lions got a solo kill. Like Humanoid killed ShowMaker, Amit killed Khan. It's like, this is not supposed to happen. And and it's still like Damwon walking out of the laning phase like a gold lead and whatnot. Because they were playing their lanes better for the most part. They just all-ined and lost. But it was just like a very strange series, because even like the bot lane Ghost and Barrel were completely inting it. Like I don't know what happened in that one game where they even got Canyon to gank. They got like a double kill, and then all of a sudden they're still losing the 2v2 against the Braum Zaya, as like Barrel and Ghost like went in 1-by-1. But it was such a shock, because Carzy was so fed in these early games too. Like it was a huge series for him, because like they just kept punishing the bot lane mistakes. But in games 4 and 5, Khan, Canyon, ShowMaker, they didn't care how bad their bot lane was. They were gonna get the win at all costs.
Yeah. And the last thing I would just say as well is bot lane was a huge role in this game. But if you just look at it, just a little fun fact: in Damwon's wins, the last game was 23 minutes long. The fourth game that they won was 22 minutes long. Mad Lions' wins were 35 and 32 minutes long. And then the first game was 25 minutes long. So you can see the win timers that Damwon had against Mad were absolutely nuts.
Yeah. And I think when you look back at the series, like, definitely, if you were only to watch the first 3 games for some reason, like, you might be like, wow, this is a really close matchup. But then when you watch game 4 and 5, you're like, oh, wait, there's a reason Damwon are the favorites, right? And like, it was absolute dominant. Because even in the 5th game, right, the second Barrel wasn't playing friggin' Nautilus anymore, right? Like, they actually, he instantly stopped completely dying all the time, you know? Like, him and Ghost actually had a solid game in game 5. And of course, that was propped up by their jungler and mid laner. But this was, I think, a very weird series for Damwon Kia. I think that the fact that their bot lane was just griefing it, and kind of has been griefing it this entire tournament, to be completely honest, better in the finals for sure. But like, the fact that it has been so consistently rough for them is just so out of character for these players. Because I thought that like last year, just like the Damwon laners across the board were so consistent, and obviously these guys didn't change. You know, it's only Khan who changed, and so just like, I mean, I'm like, hell yeah, Kaiser Carzy, that's great. But then I look at this and I'm like, all right, as good as Carzy and Kaiser are, like, what are you doing, Barrel? Because these aren't the only people that have 2v2 killed you in lane. Like, he has been dying a lot. So this was a really, really odd series to me overall. But I think my biggest takeaway outside of the Damwon bot lane struggling, and in turn, Mad bot lane being awesome, is that Victor's trash, dude. Holy crap. Like, Blue side's OP. Blue side might be OP. Victor is real bad, you know? Because, again, in this series, Victor felt super, super underwhelming, no matter who was playing it, to be completely honest. And then in the last series, in our finals, it got banned once in game 1, and then just never showed up again. Nobody wanted to play Victor. God bless. Rise came out of nowhere. You know, you had the Nocturne mids, you had a lot of the more creative picks, and thank God, because that was, watching Victor in that series was so sad, because you had some of these games where it was like really, really, really hype. You know, you had the Zoe versus Yone game, you had these crazy mid lane matchups, and then you had a lot of one mid laner plays something interesting and the other mid laner plays Victor, and that was, yeah. Silas Victor, not a fun matchup to watch. Didn't seem like a useful pick for Humanoid, and it's one of those champions that I'm glad it kind of fell out of meta for the finals.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it just kind of sits there and is your wave clear late game insurance, but it never really can force too much. So yeah, no, it never really was a fan of the champ. I think things like Orianna are actually a little bit more proactive because they have CC in their kits and mobility, whereas Victor's stun is very easily dodged and there's no real press a button and start a fight like a shockwave in a sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, if they're running into you, you have a lot of power, and if you're able to keep space, kite back, then it's pretty good. But when you're playing against Silas, Volibear, Lee Sin, you can't really do that very easily.
Yeah, Gravity Field feels really broken when they have to run through it. It feels not so broken when they dash through it, you know? It's like, true. Yeah. Well, there goes my CC. I'll cancel your channels. Volibear, Lee Sin, whatever channels you got in your kit, I will one cancel them with this ult. Yeah, it's just absolutely useless. Yeah. Jesus, underwhelming. Next up, though, we've always talked about what we felt like was the difference in the final for Mad, for Damwon. But let's see what Mac had to say. We kept this interview brief. It was a very obviously stressful day and stressful time for Mad Lions. But let's check in with what Matt had to say about the series, about the tournament as a whole.
Mac, Obviously, an absolute battle today, 3-2 series that unfortunately didn't just quite go your way. And of course, just stepping off the stage and in the immediacy of the moment, I just kind of want to give you a moment, talk me through what you're thinking, feeling, following that series, but also as you reflect on this incredible accomplishment for Mad Lions, pushing the world champions to a fifth game in a semifinal at an international tournament.
It's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. It's hard. I mean, obviously, I'm really proud of all of the players and what we've done, but I think this one was kind of close until it wasn't. And I think in game 4, we had like a really big lead. Like we had a draft that we were comfortable with, and then we made 2 like really big errors, and the game fell out of our hands. But I think that game was favorable for us up until the Herald fight, and then the subsequent TP on bot lane. So in a way, it's even more heartbreaking, because it's close.
Right.
Because it was possible, it was kind of within our grasp. So that sucks, but that's the life that we're committed to, right? You know?
I mean,
that's
look,
the beauty of competition, right? Like the highs are very high and the lows are very low, and regardless of everything, I still think we put a pretty good show on.
Yeah.
I'm very happy for that.
We live, breathe, and bleed for this kind of stuff. And again, sometimes it doesn't go our way, but I think I can, kind of affirm a lot of what you're saying from the spectator side. That game 4, oh man, where we all sitting there going, it's happening, it's possible. They're gonna bring this home. Unfortunately, again, a couple misplays, and it goes the other way. But you still had a shot in game 5. I'm just kind of curious for you and the squad, kind of what were those conversations between game 4, game 5, knowing that you could still step back out onto the stage and get that one last stab at it?
I think I always try to make sure that if we're 2 wins up, I always remind the players that like it's a best of 1 from now, and anything can happen, and that the onus is on your opponents to then shake things up and make something happen, right? And I think Damwon did a really, really good job of that. This is actually the second time I've faced Coma, not directly, but previously on Splice in 2019, and I thought that they adapted so unbelievably well to pinch us in that series, like thinking back on it, and I think they did a really fantastic job today as well. I think I have some big regrets about drafts 4 and 5, like I think in game 4, if we'd banned Silas, it would have been way better. In game 5, we were considering picking our mid laner on 2-3, because we thought that they might, but we weren't sure, and in the end we decided against it, so yeah, that's definitely some regrets there, for sure.
Well, people always talk about, the learnings, coming away from international tournaments, but I think most of the time it's hyper-focused on the 5 individuals that are out there on the Rift. But again, for you as a coach, I mean, what does this international experience do for you where, you're not just testing your mettle in more best-of-5 series than you maybe get, regionally, but also against, philosophies, coaching philosophies from different regions?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, actually. I mean, I think it's been really good to see how, like, actually, it's completely different when you VOD review another team, and we try a lot to learn from Eastern teams and say, this is what they do in the mid game, this is what they do in the late game, this is how they approach objective setup, stuff like this. It's completely different to play against it. Completely different. So I think that's been a really good experience for us, because I think there are a lot of things that Damwon and RNG do that have been punishing us, that have forced us to learn, that hasn't been happening as consistently in Europe. So I'm really grateful for that. On a more personal note, I think this has been a really good vindication for me, because I was really dissatisfied with how I adapted during Worlds and how I coped with the pressure and the stress and the grind during Worlds. And I think we've done a much better job this time around. So I'm happy with my own personal performance as well, which is nice.
I want to follow along that through line of Worlds to now, because it was a big story for the entire organization in terms of having made it, but kind of, falling out much sooner than you would have hoped at Worlds. I spoke to Carzzy at the very beginning of the event, before a single game was played, about, what the goals were overall. For him, less focused on results, more about making that statement that we can compete. So I guess I return now to the 3-2 loss today. And while you aren't going to the finals necessarily, do you feel like Mad Lions made that statement at this event?
I think so. I think today, I think you can definitely say that for it, like, we brought out some stuff that was unconventional. I think the second game we won, I think we had a really, really hard winning draft. I think Damwon underestimated a couple of our key picks, like the Wukong, for example, on Armut. But overall, I think at this tournament, our win record against Asian teams is actually pretty good. We won 3 against PSG, 2 against Damwon, 1 against RNG.
That RNG game, yeah.
A pretty, I would say not positive, but it's a acceptable overall record against Eastern teams. And I think today it's really hard now, but once we get some distance from it, looking back on it, I think we'll be able to say that we gave a performance that we can be proud of. And I hope that our fans can be proud of as well. And that's what matters to us in the end.
I think they most definitely can. Just one final thing before I let you go. From here, it's back to the LEC. We're diving straight into summer, looking for that Worlds qualification. Is Mad Lions the new kings of Europe? Is this the beginning of the next EU dynasty?
That's a tough question.
I know it is.
Tough question. So I think, all of us are very keenly aware of the fact that if you only win one title, then you're just a flash in the pan. You're just a one-hit wonder, and I don't want us to be a one-hit wonder. So we're going to do everything in our power to recreate the good things that we've had this year, the atmosphere and the work ethic and the environment and the openness that our players have displayed, as well as, the confidence and having fun, and all of the things that I think culturally make Mad Lions quite a special team to work with. I think if we can repeat those things, then for sure we'll be there in the finals again.
Well, the personality of the Mad Lions is infectious, to say the least. Again, you guys put on such an incredible show for us here at this tournament. Again, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me here, and I can't wait to see you at the next international competition.
Thank you very much.
Right, from here, back to Drakos and Caedrel.
Thank you so much, Dash, and especially thank you to Mac for doing a loser's interview. It's never easy, especially at the end of a tournament run, especially when you were so close yet so far away. But honestly, that just made me smile. That made me really happy for Mad Lions. You know what I mean? Like the development from Worlds to now. And I think we've said this before, but I think we should talk about it again. Should European fans be proud of the accomplishments of Mad Lions at MSI? That is my question to both of you, gentlemen.
I think so. I think so for sure. I actually think Mac was a little bit too hard on himself, or the team at least, saying that beating Damwon 2 times in PSG and RNG, basically every team in the tournament was acceptable. Going to 5 games versus Damwon was acceptable. If we don't win next split, then we're just another fish in the pan, right? I think he was a bit too harsh on themselves. I think they've achieved a lot so far.
Did you say fish in the pan?
He did say fish in the pan.
He did say that, yeah.
Flash in the pan.
He said flash.
Was it flash?
It's
Yeah.
flash in the pan. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a fish in the pan. Wait, it's flash in the pan? How can you get a flash in the pan? What? That doesn't make sense.
It's like a spark.
I thought
you
it
know
was
what I
like
mean?
fish in the sea.
Then why wouldn't he just say fish in the
Say
sea?
fish in the sea.
Because the sea is big. And the pan's small.
Yeah, but then if you're a fish in a pan, you're like the main thing. You're the main
man.
Yeah, but
course,
it depends
baby.
how big the pan and the fish are, because there's 10 teams, right? There's 10 fishes.
Okay,
Okay, flash.
no.
It's a flash
Saying,
in the
just
pan.
for the record, Caedrel, I'm not trying to fight you on this or your logic. I'm just because we're gonna get really derailed if we
Was
go
it
too
flash
deep down
in
this
the pan?
hall. All I'll say is like you're gonna have to take a little L here for sure. The
Okay.
saying is flash in the pan, but I really like fish in the pan, and we should use it more next split. That's all I'll say.
I thought it was fish in the pan. Sorry, I apologize. Okay, I
You
misheard.
don't have to apologize, Caedrel. I'm just giving you shit, bro. You don't have to apologize.
Screw you.
Redo it. All right. So Caedrel clearly said flash in a pan. Good on him. Yeah, and I think that, I can understand that concern, right? Because people look at Alliance as a flash in the pan, right? People look at Alliance as kind of like this smudge on an otherwise G2 Fnatic set of victories, right? I guess the reason I always laugh at like Alliance 2014 is that the most significant thing that came out of that team is getting kaboomed. Like, no one remembers any other part of Alliance in the history of EU. We just remember getting kaboomed. And I could be wrong. Like, maybe there are some diehard Alliance fans that are still out there that are like, how can you not remember these incredible games where they like blah, blah, blah did X and Y? Like, all I remember is the kabooming. I don't know about you guys. Like,
The kabooming, it's a verb.
The kabooming's rough. The good thing is, Mad Lions, they didn't get kaboomed. They were number 3 at the tournament. I give them that. Obviously tied technically with PSG, but they had the head-to-head with PSG. And if you look at like overall records too, they were ahead there. And I feel like they have a lot to be proud of too. Especially for me, I think Karzi and Kaiser were 2 players that during the regular season and even parts of the playoffs too seemed like very inconsistent. And I think if you'd look at like a weak point on the team, you would kind of point to them after having like a really great 2020. And I think that they completely redeemed themselves at their tournament. So if anything, like the whole team obviously should feel very happy with the performance they were able to put up. But I think Karzi and Kaiser in particular are gonna get a lot of confidence off of a showing like this at an international event.
Yeah, especially given the fact that in the finals, Carsey and Kaiser got 2v2 killed every single game in that 5-game series. So definitely a massive turnaround for them in this MSI, where they're actually like the main driving force behind the team, I feel like.
Yeah, and I think, again, like people are going to talk about it a lot, but just last year it was just a story of inconsistency and crap performances from Mad internationally. And there were a lot of factors that led to that, but ultimately, like the fact that they all showed up and had really fantastic individual moments is such an incredible thing to watch. And I honestly think that like Max looking very back at like these specific things in draft and like looking at these drafts, I can see what he said. You know, maybe we should have picked mid lane earlier here. Maybe we should have done X and Y. But I think that ultimately, regardless of where Mad went out here, whether it was semifinals or whether it was finals, like, or maybe even if they won that thing, like I'm happy with this level of performance. I don't think Mad needed to do anything more to like really impress me, to really show me that they are a world-class team, like a worthy rep for EU. You know, I think that there's always a lot of chatter anytime any team goes that isn't G2 in our case. Would probably be the same in LCK if a team that wasn't Damwon went, right? Where it's like, is this really the best rep that we could have sent? But I think Mad killed it. And I hope that at least quells a lot of the discussion around, oh, is this the best team we could have sent? Because I think Mad absolutely killed it. And I think that they were probably the best representative we could have sent. Do they have the highest ceiling? I don't know. But from what they showed, they are damn sure an international competitor.
This was Elyoya's first split ever. What is that man's ceiling? That's what I want to know. That's ridiculous. Just ridiculous.
I can't say that anymore because every time I hop onto any podcast at all, I just start telling people how great Elyoya's story is. So thank you for bringing it up. Yes, Elyoya. It's such a good story. Every time I say that he's the most successful European rookie split ever, people bring up other names that are also very good. Fevivin and Huni are also very good names. But Elyoya is up there. He is in top 3 for sure.
Yeah. Because like even if you have someone that you think had a better rookie split, the fact that like he's with, those are good names to be in company with. Like if you think about the glory days of the EU LCS, you know. So yeah, I think Elyoya is man's cracked.
Especially especially the difficulty, I feel like, of the region when you're joining, right? It's like the G2 domination era, right? MSI champions, World Semis, Worlds Finals, all back to back, you know, pretty much dominating Europe for the last 2 years. And then Fnatic G2 and then Rogue was on the rise, but Mad Lion just like, nope.
On paper, coming into this split, none of us ever would have expected this because like realistically, when we look at it, we didn't, I don't think any of us really predicted Fnatic was going to bomb kind of completely in the way that they did. But like there were question marks around Fnatic, but like I don't know about you guys. I was pretty confident that, you know, G2 is the team to look at. Fnatic, we'll see where they go, but I expected them to be somewhere there. And then Mad and Rogue were kind of distant to that. And I would have put Rogue ahead of Mad. And we even saw Rogue be ahead of Mad for most of the regular season, right? So this to me is one of the craziest seasons. This is certainly like, this is like a true underdog story. This is not like we expected G2 to be the favorites and then they just bombed out the entire season. Like, no, we expected G2 to be the favorites and they like kicked ass for most of the regular season. You know?
I mean, Mad Lions finished 4th in the regular season, right? Like, it was out of nowhere pretty much.
Yeah, and I remember when Reckless was announced, everyone was saying, like, this is the best team ever created in Europe.
Why even watch LEC?
And then Mad wins and Rogue comes second. It's like, what? I mean, maybe they'll do really well at Worlds, and I hope they do. I hope G2 definitely bounce back, but they weren't as strong as anyone expected. I wonder if that's because Rogue and Mad Lions are just stronger or G2 just look weaker. It's a very long discussion, I'm sure. But yeah, I remember at the start of the split, people were losing their minds from this change of Reckless to G2.
Yeah. And you know what?
I was amongst them.
Yeah, no, I mean, literally everyone was saying, why watch LEC? It's a foregone conclusion. But I'm very curious. Maybe I'm jumping the gun on this, but I wonder what people's like expectations, like preseason predictions are going to be for next split. Like, do people still default to G2? Is it automatically Mad Lions because they won? Or the people that think that Rogue, you know, should have won, you know, they just need to change some things in that game 5 and they end up winning that series? Like, it does feel like for the last 2 years, everyone has been like, oh, we know how the league is going to go, but now it seems like wide open, and you could make a very strong case for like 3 different teams to take it all.
Yeah. I think let's talk a little bit about looking forward then, because I think that Worlds obviously around the corner. You got quad seeds for both the LCK and the LPL.
Don't remind me.
It's rough. So this is preliminary expectations. Who are we sending to get absolutely eviscerated by the 4 best teams in the world, which will probably all come out of China. Oh no.
I think it would be the top 3 from this split. I don't think there's going to be that many differences next split unless Fnatic are like a big shocker with their new changes. I think it's going to be a G2 Mad Rogue, I'd expect. I don't know in what order. That's the weird thing that stands out to me. I don't know which order they'll be in. I don't think I don't know. I have to see maybe Mad Lions won't win Summer, but I don't know if Rogue can do it either or G2 might come back. I have no idea.
Look, I think G2, Rogue, Mad Lions, all going to be great options, but my God, I hope we see Upset and Hylissang get to lane against Ghost and Barrel. Like, that's just...
Oh my god.
Whoa, man.
Okay, yeah.
Oh no.
But we were talking about China, but yeah, just for personal reasons, let's just take them out quickly.
You know the dog sniffing the cupcake gif with like the horrible flashbacks? That to me is like, it's like flashbacks to the OPGG pages of all these players, flashback to the interviews of like how much they hated EUS solo queue when they're getting hex flashed on by Hylissang at level 1. Like, yeah. Hylissang just hits different, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, he
God
really
bless
does.
that man.
We love it.
Yeah, I do think though, from an EU fan perspective, I'd just say that like, I think Worlds is going to be hard. I think Worlds is going to be hard for any region that isn't named the LPL, because there are 4 teams that I see that, and you talked about this before, Caedrel, but you know, there's a lot of teams essentially coming out of LPL that I think could win Worlds. When I look at the LCK and I look at LCK, it's like damn one. When I look at EU, it's like all of us could do it, but it's like, it's an uphill battle. Like, do I believe that Rogue, G2, or Mad could win Worlds after what we've seen in this tournament? Yes. Does it mean having to beat at least one, if not more, LPL teams? Also, yes. Something that we have historically not been super good at. So, I don't want to say that's a foregone conclusion, but I'm definitely sweating a little bit when it comes to Worlds, and we're not even remotely close to Worlds yet.
I have a question. So, in Worlds groups, there's 4 groups, right, normally? And in those 4 groups, you can't have one of the same region, so it has to be separated, right?
Yeah.
So we can already assume there's 4 LCK teams and 4 LPL teams. So there's 2 in each of these groups. 2 of the teams are going to be a LCK or an LPL team, right?
Yes.
So every group's already the group of death,
Assuming they make it out of play-ins.
in a sense.
Yeah. Yes.
Because that was supposed to happen last year, too, with, you know, LEC.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but yeah. So every group already has one LPL and one LCK representative, and you'd expect.
Oh my god!
And Europe has 3 teams. NA has 3 teams as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can already safely assume that there's going to be an NA, EU, LCK, LPL team in 3 of the groups.
Don't forget PSG Talon, and
PSG Talon will be in there.
Yep, and their second seed.
Yeah, I think to be fair, though, that region is very, very top heavy. So we're mostly sweating over PSG Talon.
Yeah. And then if another team makes replays, props to them. But right now, just holistically, that's what we're looking at right now in a World's group stage, you'd expect.
Yeah. Also, wait, you say they're top heavy, but Beyond Gaming, the number 2 team, has the best AD carry in the galaxy. Doggo, the goodest boy.
The goodest boy. You know his name before Doggo was Doge?
Oh my god.
No joke, it was DOGE. Dude,
that's incredible.
Okay, so now you can just take random names of top 4 LCK, LPL, LEC, and NA teams. Okay, I'll just do it randomly, okay? Team Liquid, Rogue, Gen.G, and Top Esports. That's already a group. That's not even the top 3. Well, Rogue is and Liquid.
That's sick.
Wow.
Like, how insane does that sound? Then you can do it again. Cloud9, G2, SKT, and FPX. That's a group as well. You know? Like, what the hell? That's going to be nuts.
This is the
what?
Do you think we signed our own death warrant by not winning MSI? Like, did us losing MSI just like condemn every Western region to death at Worlds?
See, I don't think so necessarily. So, like, I'm very concerned about the LPL teams. Don't get me wrong, but like Mad Lions contested Damwon. Damwon blasted the LCK. Mad Lions barely scraped here to MSI, like 5 games against, like, I think that the top end of LEC, where in the past it's felt like it's G2 in a big gap, the top end is very packed in the LEC with the top 3 teams now. So I'm really not as concerned about the lower seeds, especially like 3-4 seeds from the LCK. And obviously a lot can change in the next couple months, but I don't think that just because every group will have an LCK and LPL team means that the knockout stage is just LCK and LPL. Like, we're gonna get a couple teams out.
Oh,
Yeah, I think that's a
going to
good
be so
point.
exciting.
You're right. I think that it is really important, and to just call out that LCK is also super super top heavy, and I think that it's still hard though, because I think we're all looking at a world where four LPL teams get out, and PSG Talon, depending on their group, is another very very big contender to get out, and I think they could beat a lot of the LCK teams. I think they could probably take out one of our teams, honestly, in a best of 5. So. And that's not including any chance of. I'm just assuming NA are out, right? And that's not fair to NA, but that's just easier for me to do this equation. And NA could level up and start beating our teams. Like it's happened before, right?
So it's like EU versus LCK.
And hey, that's been a good record for EU.
That we do have outside of Daemon, we are really good at beating the LCK.
Yeah, dude, I just imagine this whole group region teams thing, and no matter what teams I slot in from the top 4 of each region, it just sounds stacked as hell.
Yeah.
And then PSG, of course, as well, like, or even another team that makes you play-ins.
All right.
Maybe DFM shows up.
If you're watching, this is another challenge for you. You have to tell us what 3 champions you'd remove from the meta to make the meta more exciting for you, and you need to tell us your favorite Imaginary Worlds group.
Dude, that's
remember,
easy, isn't it?
can't have more than one team. Not for you guys here. We'll get more chance, but for you at home. Favorite actually maybe you guys could do it too. Favorite Imaginary Worlds group. Yeah, what's yours? Gabe?
Okay, so it's C9 with Perks, of course, and G2.
Yeah.
And then it's FPX and that one.
Oh my god.
How f***ing stacked is that group with storylines?
No,
Oh my God.
you just did it.
It's
No,
the best
I'm not
one.
even gonna try.
That's it.
That's just the
That's
best
it.
group. The
That's
best
the
thing too
best
is like
group.
C9 and SKT
Oh my
just
God.
happen to high roll into each other's groups like every single time. Like
could happen?
I think the only worlds that they weren't like in the same group was 2019 when they were in the group with G2 and Damwon. Because like I swear it was always C9, SKT, and then the LMS rep. We're always just in the same group by chance.
Imagine you had that C9 G2 group, right? And in another group you had like Fnatic, RNG, Liquid, and SKT as well, which is still different teams. Like, and then in another one you have like TSM Rogue because of the storyline, and then you have I don't know, you have like EDG as well in there, and then I don't know, like Genji or something. It's also like insane. I don't know. Oh my god.
Yo, put Genji and RNG in the same group and get a little 2018 run back. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my god. Oh my guy. Okay, so all I've learned from this is that we just need to speed run Summer Split and go straight to Worlds. Because this is Worlds, at least, is a sort of like, regardless of how we felt about the format, how we got through this tournament up until the best of 5s, like Worlds is certainly.
Okay,
But
I'm gonna
there is a
bring
chance
it
that
up.
one of the groups, like there's 3 from EU and NA, right? So there's a chance that one of the groups has neither EU or NA, right? So there's a chance that only 3 of the groups will be like this.
Yeah.
But even then, if you have PSG in another group and then one of the emerging region teams, like that's still a great group. Obviously, it's less crazy hype for us, but that's still a pretty stacked group. Like the fact that PSG is more than likely not going to default in that group.
Pentanet, we'll get to see them.
Pentanet, PSG,
My
and then
boys.
some LPL and LCK teams.
Damn.
Did you see the intro where it was like RNG was saying like, have you seen Pabu? He's a good jungler. The guy with the green hair.
Yeah, he said he never misses his spears on Italy.
Yeah.
Yankos is just freaking out, you know?
Oh no. Import Pabu, the new G2 jungler.
He's sweating.
That'd be All right. Last things before we close out to the day. I want to hit quickly. As exciting as Worlds has been, as exciting as MSI has been, again, shout out to Mad Lions. Give those boys some love if you haven't already. I want to talk a little bit about Summer LEC. And we've hit it a little already, but I want to talk specifically about roster rumors. So there's a lot of crazy stuff out there. All of it starting to feel pretty soft confirmed. But tell me, gentlemen, what are you most, of all the roster rumors that could or could not come true, because technically none of them are 100% confirmed yet outside of... well, I'm just gonna say none of them are 100% confirmed yet because it's easier. What are you looking forward to? What's the craziest thing to you?
Fnatic.
For sure, Fnatic.
It's got to be Fnatic, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be Fnatic and Vitality.
Yeah. So if you're living under a rock, for context here, the rumor of Fnatic is that Bwipo is swapping to jungle and he's already changed his bio to say former Fnatic top laner. The rumor is that Bwipo is changing to jungle. Again, none of this is confirmed, and that Adam has been picked up by the team. Adam from K Corp, if you didn't watch, very young top laner, notorious for his Darius, very individually, mechanically talented, exciting young prospect, is coming in to play top lane for Fnatic. Which means, if you're keeping up, well, where's Selfmade going? What's happening with Selfmade? Selfmade is supposedly going to Vitality to play with Leader in the mid lane, Crown Shot Labrov still in the bot lane, and a new top laner whose name I've already forgotten. He's a rookie, former big top laner coming in.
SLT.
SLT. So essentially, just these two teams is like one of the biggest spring to summer off seasons we've ever had. Because keep in mind, normally spring to summer is like maybe one roster change, sometimes two, sometimes three. But more often than not, teams don't change in spring to summer. Like very rarely are there significant changes spring to summer.
Or like this large too. Because I think like the really odd thing with this, like especially losing Selfmade, is that I think everyone would have sort of thought that after you lose Reckless, who is like obviously the franchise player for Fnatic, like who's the guy that you're gonna sort of like rally around on that team? Oh, well, like Selfmade was like the upcoming like, you know, jungle prospect, like one of, if not like the best performing junglers in 2020 entirely. And then clearly Spring Split did not go Fnatic's way, but to then just like abandon ship, send him away, say, okay, maybe Bwipo has a better shot of playing jungle. Like that is an absolutely ludicrous swap. Like in one sense, like you look at like the Great Lane swaps in like LEC, and it's like, okay, Perks goes to bot lane. Oh, Perks is an insane player. He's going to bot lane because they need to bring in Caps, and everyone knows Caps is insane. Right? Yeah.
Just a fish in a pan. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah. Caedrel to the casting team, one of the greatest lane swaps in LEC history. I'll be honest. But in this case, it's you're putting Bwipo, great player, into the jungle to bring in a rookie. Like obviously Adam just came off of winning EU Masters, but this is like a completely different like type of swap, and it's I don't know, it feels like there's so many unknown variables here. It's really hard to know what's going to happen.
And for context, just to provide evidence as to why this roster rumor is so strong, there's a solo queue account called Chongus, and it was a top lane account which duoed 5 games in a row with Hylissang, and now it's maining jungle, spamming it non-stop. Bwipo even put a picture of his cat and put the word Chongas underneath it. Fnatic put out a picture of Upset and Hylissang together, and Bwipo was in the jungle seat in the gaming house. Their names were written from bottom to top in terms of role: Hylissang, Upset, Niski, and then it said Bwipo. So there's a lot of things pointing towards this being the roster swap, and Bwipo going to jungle means Selfmade's out, which means Selfmade's probably going to Vitality because he's going to bring Leader with him. So I think the starting point is Bwipo, and it looks like it's very likely.
Yeah, which is... I don't know. Let us, again, we're asking you for a lot this episode, dear fans at home. Let us know how you feel about the offseason, because this is weird. This is the weirdest spring to summer. This is absolutely crazy. I'm personally incredibly excited about this. This is going to lead to some great storylines, some great narratives over the course of the season. Selfmade versus Bwipo. Let's look to that matchup. That would be crazy.
Oh,
that's the best matchup.
Oh my God, if Selfmade beats, or Bwipo beats Selfmade,
oh my God.
The little TFT emote comes out, like,
honestly, I really wish, because like Bwipo doesn't seem like a spiteful person or anything. He's always like bubbling, happy, you know, especially if like invite him to the studio. But I just wish he was the type of player that had like a grudge against certain top laners, and that now he's playing jungle. He just, when he's playing against Wonder, he never leaves top lane. He just sets down the cab. He's like, I'm going to destroy this guy because his jungler always came and ganked him. You know, like that's the kind of stuff that I would live for if I was a top lane switching to jungle.
He like runs top and he just like doesn't gank him when he chunks down, just goes bonk, and he just does his Bwipo laugh because he knows how is in lane. He's like, you know, because he knows how screwed he is.
Hear me out. Makes it to the world stage, is going up against Ning in the jungle. He locks in the Predator Gragas, and he just runs down top lane every game.
With the white Bwipo song playing.
The Bwipo anthem. Oh man.
Yeah.
Bwipo Gragas jungle with Predator. That is
actually wide Bwipo.
Wait, I remember seeing a Fnatic series of behind the scenes at Worlds one day where he was like doing Gragas impressions. He was like a body slam or something. So
Wow, so this has been in the works for a long time.
Yeah, it has.
He did come on EUphoria and be like, I think jungle is like overall the simplest role. He's like, because you always just do the jungle thing. His point was like to transfer from role to role, like because like regardless of the meta, like your camps and your respawn rates are like always the same. I think is basically what he was saying.
Wait, that's
like
just not true though. They're changing that again.
No, I know, I understand, but like the fact that your camps respawn, you need to clear the jungle this way. These are like your windows change slightly, but it's not like it's never at the end of the day. It's always like the core of PvE remains the same, right? As opposed to like lane matchups and changing metas.
Yeah, and
I think that was his point. But he was talking about jungle like it wasn't a big deal or it wasn't very complicated, and maybe that should have been our first hint. He's like, oh yeah, jungle, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty easy. I mean, he's almost 700 LP right now in Challenger. Most played
Chongus
Viego.
is.
Chongus
believed to be Whippo.
Chongus is, yeah. They're believed to be Whippo with lots of Udyr games, Rengar games, Morgana Viego. So
Zac games, perhaps?
He's grinding hard. No Zac games.
Ooh, not yet.
Not yet. Lots of Volibear games, though. Really high win rate on Volibear. As the famous man once said, Hum!
All right. That's your LEC roster. Those are your LEC roster rumors. There's a lot happening. There's more changes coming in, but we'll leave it at that for now. The last thing that I want to hit today, before we wrap, is the most important, not roster rumor, but roster change in the offseason in my eyes, and that is the LEC losing premier colorcaster, creative mind, and writer Christy Ender Frierson. Ender.
Drakos.
Baby. You're leaving us, dude. It's been... I know that you didn't quite get your synchronized flights, but maybe we can talk about your synchronized flights. This is a heartbreaker, and I'm happy for you. And I think you've given context publicly, but maybe you can share with the EUphoria audience, like, where you're going, what you're doing. I want this to be like, I don't want this to be a funeral. I want this to be a wake. You know, like we're sad for you to go, and I'm really bummed to see you leave, but I also want to be like happy for you in the next things that are coming in.
Yeah. So I have nothing confirmed to announce just yet as far as what I'm going to be doing next. But I am going to be moving back to LA. I think my flight is on the 3rd now, which is a little sad because when I first came out here in 2018 for the summer split, my flight to get here was June 2nd. So that's what I booked my flight for, was to be that perfect symmetry like you're talking about, Drakos. And then the flight got canceled because Corona, and that's a thing. So it's a little bit off. But yeah, I'm really excited. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for things that I can do, maybe like still around LEC. Like I still plan on making some content around LEC, LCS, Valorant, like I've mentioned as well. So I'm not totally gone here. You're not going to be done with me just yet. Yeah, hopefully I'll get to do a little bit of stuff with you guys still.
Yeah,
that would be wonderful.
You're always welcome back.
If you guys don't follow Ender on social media, follow Ender. Overall, I'm like, we cast a banging final. I was kind of hoping we'd get the run back on this TriCast at some point. Maybe we will. Maybe internationally at some point, depending on where Ender ends up and what Ender's doing with his career. Not to drag you back, to us, but if you're keen, I don't want to come off as like, too keen, too excited, too thirsty here. But if you've got time and you're like interested, maybe we could, mess around and try cast a final again.
Yeah, that's just
good.
Might peek around and cast a final.
Yeah, so I think as like final notes here, I'm bummed to see you go. I think LEC Update is still one of my favorite pieces of content that you've ever spearheaded, obviously, and I think one of the best contents to come out of the pieces of content to come out of the LEC. I think they might try to get us to do it more while you're gone, but I think that it won't. It won't be the same. It won't be the same,
Nothing will be the same.
Nothing will be the same.
It was so weird, like because Saturday was my last cast, and then just like walking out, like they turned off all the lights in the studio and just sat there for a second, took it all in. The studio surprisingly bland, like everything's just gray and black when the lights aren't on. So I wasn't looking at anything beautiful, but it was a nice little walk off.
I think the 5 games were a good series to end on, though.
It's true. And also I realized, speaking of symmetry, my first cast ever in the EULCS back then was with Medic. And then that was my final cast as well.
Bruh.
There you go.
Wow. There you go. Well,
Destiny.
Ender, sad to see you go. So happy that you were here for the journey. Also, thank you for joining us on this one final episode of Euphoria. I felt like a nice little thing to button it all off.
The boys.
The boys.
The boys. The final Strikecast. Let's go.
boys.
Our final Strikecast.
With our video that we made.
Hell yes, bro. Hell yeah. More.
Boom, boom, boom.
Ender got me on TikTok. His long, effortful. Yeah, it's been a wild season.
I'll be coming up on your For You page. You know, you're not going to get away from me.
Yeah, okay, I'm down. I'm ready. Mostly because my TikTok is still horrible. It's like it's so bad. Anyway, I'm a boomer. Yes, it's happening slowly but surely. Final notes here. This is the end of kind of the spring season, right? Spring into MSI. So if you've been watching Euphoria the entire time, thank you so much. This is the end of our MSI coverage. If you want to check us out, we'll be back shortly before the summer split starts. That's starting on the 11th. Exciting stuff. Obviously, a lot of the roster rumors that we speculated about today will be confirmed by then. We're going to have a lot of things to talk about. Maybe we can call in Ender too, but otherwise, we wish Ender, wish you nothing but the best of luck, dude. Thank you for joining us on this final episode of Euphoria for MSI. And thanks to all the listeners. This has been the last of our MSI coverage, and we'll see you guys back here for summer.